Every morning, 13-year-old Alex Jenkins held his breath as he walked through the middle school doors, clutching the frayed straps of his uncle's hand-me-down backpack. The once blue fabric had faded to an indistinguishable gray, with patches covering holes and a broken zipper held together by safety pins. This backpack, this symbol of his family's financial struggles, had become his daily source of torment. The whispers followed him through hallways. The pointing. The laughter. Until one ordinary Tuesday, when a black SUV pulled up outside the school, and a man with kind eyes and shoulder-length hair stepped out, witnessing Alex's humiliation firsthand. Nobody expected what would happen next, least of all Alex, when Keanu Reeves decided this was one role he hadn't rehearsed for, becoming a real-life hero to a boy who just needed someone to see past the backpack. The hallway fell silent as they circled him. 3 boys with matching sneakers and identical smirks. Alex clutched the worn backpack closer to his chest, its frayed straps digging into his palms. Sweat beaded on his forehead as Jackson, the ringleader, poked at the safety pin holding the main zipper together. "What's this, Jenkins? Your mom can't even afford a real backpack." Jackson's voice echoed through the corridor, drawing more onlookers. Alex stared at the scuffed linoleum floor, counting the black and white tiles to keep from crying. The backpack had belonged to his uncle before being passed down to him after the factory layoffs hit his family. His mother had stayed up late sewing patches over the worst holes, promising they'd get a new one when things turned around. "It's just temporary," Alex mumbled, the words barely audible over the growing laughter. "Everything about you is temporary," Jackson sneered, yanking one of the straps hard enough that the ancient stitching gave way. Books and papers scattered across the floor as students stepped around, or on, his belongings, continuing to their classes without a second glance. Alex dropped to his knees, gathering math worksheets and dog-eared notebooks. His science textbook had landed in a puddle from someone's leaking water bottle, the pages already curling at the edges. When he reached for his lunch, a simple sandwich wrapped in plastic, Jackson stepped on it, grinding it into the floor with deliberate pressure. "Oops," Jackson said with mock concern. "Looks like you'll need to borrow lunch too." A bell rang, sending students scurrying to classrooms. Within seconds, Alex was alone in the empty hallway, surrounded by the ruins of his morning. He gathered what he could salvage into the damaged backpack, missing the quiet figure who had paused at the far end of the corridor, watching the scene unfold with thoughtful eyes. In apartment 3B of the Ridgeview complex, Marjorie Jenkins worked double shifts as a hospital aide to keep a roof over their heads after her husband had left 3 years ago. Their tiny 2-bedroom apartment housed Alex, his mother, and his younger sister Emma. The refrigerator often contained little more than eggs, milk, and whatever was on sale that week. But they had each other, and his mother always said that was worth more than any possession. That afternoon, Alex slouched into his chair at the back of English class, trying to make himself invisible. He'd repaired the backpack strap with a safety pin from the nurse's office, but the temporary fix was obvious to anyone who looked. And people were looking. "Did Jenkins bring his garbage bag to school again?" whispered Tara loud enough for Alex to hear from 2 rows away. Mr. Peterson, their English teacher, was discussing the outsiders, talking about social divisions and being judged by appearances. The irony wasn't lost on Alex, who felt like Ponyboy without the gang to back him up. "For tomorrow, I want a 2-page reflection on how prejudice affects the characters," Mr. Peterson announced as the bell rang. Alex packed up slowly, waiting for most students to leave before heading to his locker. Every day was a careful dance of avoiding attention. He'd memorized which hallways were least crowded between periods and which bathroom stalls were usually empty during lunch. At his locker, he found a crude drawing taped to the metal door. It showed a stick figure with a trash bag labeled Alex's designer backpack. He ripped it down quickly, but not before Melissa saw it from her locker across the hall. Their eyes met briefly before she looked away, her expression unreadable. Days became a blur of similar torments. On Wednesday, someone accidentally spilled chocolate milk on the backpack during lunch. On Thursday, Alex found it stuffed in a toilet in the boys' bathroom after gym class. Each incident carved away at his sense of self-worth. By Friday, the backpack was barely functional. The second strap had torn completely, forcing Alex to carry it awkwardly over one shoulder. The bottom seam had split, requiring him to cradle it like a baby to prevent his books from falling through. His mother had promised to try fixing it over the weekend, her eyes tired but determined when he showed her the damage without mentioning its cause. "It's getting worse," his friend Darius said during lunch. Unlike Alex, Darius had managed to remain invisible to the bullies, perhaps because of his height and quiet demeanor. They'd been friends since elementary school, before appearances became currency. "I'll be fine," Alex muttered, picking at his sandwich. His mother had tried to hide the fact that they were on their last loaf of bread by cutting the sandwich into triangles, as if the presentation could disguise their circumstances. The cafeteria hummed with typical Friday excitement when Jackson and his friends entered. Alex immediately hunched lower, hoping to escape notice. But Jackson had developed a hunter's instinct for Alex's discomfort. "Hey, Jenkins," he called, veering toward their table. "Still carrying your trash around?" Before Alex could respond, Jackson grabbed the mangled backpack from the bench. "This thing is a health hazard. I think we should dispose of it properly." "Give it back," Alex said, standing up but conscious of how much smaller he was than Jackson and his friends. Jackson tossed the backpack to Tyler, who caught it with exaggerated disgust. "It probably has diseases," Tyler laughed, throwing it to Connor. The cafeteria grew quiet as the backpack became the center of an impromptu game of keep away. When Alex lunged for it, he tripped over Connor's outstretched foot, landing hard on the linoleum as laughter erupted around him. "What's going on here?" Ms. Ramirez, the assistant principal, pushed through the gathering crowd. "Jackson, Tyler, Connor, my office. Now." The backpack lay in the middle of the floor, its contents spilled out for everyone to see, including the free lunch voucher Alex had tried so hard to keep hidden. Ms. Ramirez made Alex wait outside her office while she spoke with the boys. He could hear muffled voices through the door as he sat on the hard plastic chair, staring at the anti-bullying poster on the wall across from him. "Be an upstander, not a bystander," it proclaimed in cheerful letters, showing cartoon children standing up for each other. Alex wondered where these upstanders were hiding in real life. When the door opened, Jackson and his friends filed out with practiced looks of contrition. Jackson's eyes flicked to Alex with a clear message. "This isn't over." "Alex, come in please," Ms. Ramirez said, her voice gentler than he expected. Inside her office, she gestured to a chair across from her desk. The backpack sat between them like evidence in a crime scene. "They say it was just a joke," she said, studying his face. Alex said nothing, focusing on a paperweight shaped like an apple on her desk. "How long has this been going on?" she asked. The kindness in her voice nearly broke him. He shrugged, still not trusting himself to speak without his voice cracking. "Alex, I can't help if you don't talk to me." "It's fine," he managed. "I just need my backpack." Ms. Ramirez sighed, pushing a box of tissues toward him though he hadn't cried. "Your mother works at Ridgeview Medical Center, right?" "I could call her." "No," Alex said quickly. "Please don't. She's got enough to worry about." Understanding dawned in Ms. Ramirez's eyes as she looked more closely at the backpack. "Is there something I should know about your situation at home?" Alex stared at his hands. "Dad left. Mom works double shifts. Things are tight right now, but it's temporary." He repeated his mother's mantra without believing it anymore. Ms. Ramirez opened her desk drawer and pulled out a small card. "The school has resources that might help. A student assistance fund for things like—" "I don't need charity," Alex interrupted, pride flaring briefly before reality crushed it again. "I mean, we're doing okay." "Taking help when you need it isn't charity, Alex. It's community." But Alex knew better. Accepting help meant admitting defeat, confirming what everyone already thought, that he was poor, pathetic Alex Jenkins whose dad had walked out and whose mom couldn't afford to buy him a simple backpack. Ms. Ramirez let him go eventually, after making him promise to think about the assistance program. She also gave Jackson and his friends detention, which Alex knew would only make things worse in the long run. Walking home that afternoon, Alex took the long route through the park to avoid running into anyone from school. Tears he'd held back all day finally spilled over as he collapsed onto a bench overlooking the duck pond. The backpack lay at his feet, beyond repair now despite his mother's sewing skills. A shadow fell across him, but Alex didn't look up, assuming it was just another park visitor passing by. He wiped his face on his sleeve, embarrassed to be caught crying in public. "That backpack's seen better days," said a gentle, surprisingly familiar voice. Alex looked up, blinking away tears, and froze. Standing before him was a tall man with shoulder-length dark hair and a scruffy beard. He wore a simple black t-shirt, jeans, and boots, casual clothes that couldn't disguise the fact that he was unmistakably Keanu Reeves. "You're—" Alex began, his voice trailing off in disbelief. The man smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, gesturing to the empty space on the bench. Alex nodded dumbly, scooting over though there was plenty of room. His mind raced with questions. Why was Keanu Reeves in their small town? Why was he talking to a random crying kid in the park? Was this some kind of elaborate prank? "I'm Keanu," the man said, extending his hand as if he were any ordinary person introducing himself. "Alex," he replied automatically, shaking the offered hand. "Alex Jenkins." "Rough day, Alex?" Keanu asked, nodding toward the mangled backpack. Alex hesitated, embarrassment warring with the strange comfort of talking to a stranger who happened to be famous. "You could say that." Keanu didn't push, just sat quietly for a moment watching the ducks. His presence had a calming effect that gave Alex time to compose himself. "I saw what happened at your school today," Keanu said finally. Alex's head snapped up. "You were there?" Keanu nodded. "We're filming some scenes for a new movie at the community center next to your school. I was walking the location when I saw those boys in the hallway this morning." Heat rushed to Alex's face. "Great. So even Keanu Reeves knows I'm the kid with the garbage backpack." To his surprise, Keanu laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine warmth. "Actually, what I saw was a kid with incredible restraint. You didn't fight back, didn't sink to their level. That takes strength." "Or cowardice," Alex muttered. "There's a difference between cowardice and choosing not to engage," Keanu said thoughtfully. "Sometimes the braver choice is walking away." Alex picked at a loose thread on his jeans. "Easy for you to say. You know. You'd be surprised," Keanu replied. "People see what they want to see. The character, not the person." A comfortable silence fell between them. Alex couldn't believe he was sitting on a park bench having a philosophical conversation with John Wick himself. "What happened to your backpack anyway?" Keanu asked. Alex sighed, giving the backpack a small kick. "It was my uncle's. Mom can't afford a new one right now, so—" "And those guys at school decided that was something to make fun of," Keanu finished for him. "It's stupid," Alex said, anger finally breaking through his exhaustion. "It's just a backpack. It shouldn't matter." "But it does," Keanu acknowledged. "Not because of what it is, but because of what it represents." Alex looked up, surprised by the insight. "When I was younger than you, my family moved around a lot," Keanu continued. "Sometimes we didn't have much. Kids can be cruel about that kind of thing." "You got picked on?" Alex asked incredulously. Keanu smiled. "Hard to believe, right? But yeah. For being the new kid, for my name, for the clothes I wore. Kids find the differences and pounce on them." "How did you deal with it?" "Not always well," Keanu admitted. "But I learned something important. The people who judge you for what you have aren't the people worth impressing." A duck waddled up to them, quacking expectantly. Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out a small bag of bird seed. "You carry bird seed around?" Alex asked, momentarily distracted from his problems. "I like feeding the ducks," Keanu said with a shrug, offering some seeds to Alex. "Helps me think." As they scattered seeds for the gathering ducks, Alex felt the knot in his chest loosening. There was something surreal yet grounding about sitting here with a Hollywood star who somehow understood what he was going through. "Tell me about yourself, Alex," Keanu said. "Not the stuff those guys at school think they know. The real you." For the next half hour, Alex found himself talking about things he rarely shared. His dream of becoming an architect, his collection of sketches of buildings he designed, his responsibility helping care for his little sister while his mom worked, the astronomy books he checked out from the library. Keanu listened attentively, asking questions that showed he was genuinely interested. When Alex finally ran out of things to say, Keanu looked thoughtfully at the ruined backpack again. "You know," he said, "I think I might have a solution for that problem." "There's a store at the mall that might have what you need," Keanu said, standing up and dusting bird seed from his jeans. "If you're not busy, we could check it out." Alex hesitated, hearing his mother's voice warning him about going places with strangers. But this wasn't exactly a stranger. This was Keanu Reeves, offering to help him. "I should probably call my mom first," Alex said cautiously. Keanu nodded approvingly. "Smart kid. Use my phone if you want." Alex called his mother, who initially didn't believe him until Keanu got on the line. After a moment of stunned silence, she peppered Keanu with questions, reminding Alex of her protective instincts despite their struggles. Eventually, she gave permission, asking them to come by the apartment afterward so she could thank Keanu personally. They walked to where Keanu had parked his rental car, a modest sedan rather than the flashy vehicle Alex might have expected from a movie star. As they drove to the mall, Keanu asked about Alex's classes, seeming particularly interested in his architecture dreams. "Buildings are fascinating," Keanu said thoughtfully. "They're practical art that shapes how people live and interact." At the mall, a few people recognized Keanu despite his attempt at anonymity with a baseball cap. He handled each encounter graciously but kept moving, maintaining their purpose. Alex noticed how Keanu deflected attention, signing autographs quickly but never letting it become a spectacle that would draw crowds. The store Keanu led them to specialized in outdoor gear. Alex hung back as they entered, eyeing the price tags anxiously. "I really appreciate this," Alex said quietly, "but I can't let you spend a lot of money on me." Keanu considered this, seeming to understand the complexity behind the statement. "How about we make a deal? I help you with the backpack situation, and you help me understand more about architecture. I'm playing an architect in an upcoming role and could use some insights." Alex recognized the graceful way Keanu was offering him dignity, a fair exchange rather than charity. He nodded, relief washing over him. They browsed the store together, examining different options. Keanu didn't rush to the most expensive items but asked thoughtful questions about what Alex actually needed. Which classes required the heaviest books? Did he carry a laptop? How much space did he need for lunch and gym clothes? "This one's built to last," Keanu said, showing Alex a dark blue backpack with reinforced stitching and water-resistant material. "And it has a lifetime warranty." As they explored the features, the padded laptop sleeve, the secret pocket perfect for keeping money safe, the cushioned straps that wouldn't dig into shoulders, Alex felt a strange mix of emotions. Excitement about having something new and functional, guilt about accepting such a gift, and lingering worry about what would happen when he showed up at school with it. "What's wrong?" Keanu asked, noticing his expression. "If I show up with a brand new backpack, especially an expensive one, everyone will have questions," Alex explained. "Jackson might think I stole it or something." Keanu thought for a moment. "You're right. We need a story that works." They decided on a simple explanation. Alex had won a contest through the local library's reading program. It was believable enough since Alex spent a lot of time there, and it wouldn't raise suspicions about his family's finances. At the register, Keanu added a few other items. A scientific calculator Alex had mentioned needing for math class, a sketchbook with architectural grid lines, and a set of drawing pencils. "For our architecture consultation," Keanu explained with a wink when Alex began to protest. As they left the store, Alex clutched the shopping bag tight, still processing what had happened. They stopped at a quiet corner of the food court for ice cream, where Keanu shared stories from his own school days. Some funny, some painful, all remarkably relatable. "The thing about bullies," Keanu said, "is they're usually fighting their own battles you know nothing about." "You think Jackson has problems?" Alex asked skeptically. "Everyone has problems," Keanu replied. "Doesn't excuse how they treat others, but sometimes understanding that helps." As they talked, Alex noticed something shifting inside himself. The backpack had been a symbol of his family's struggles, a visual reminder of what he lacked. But through Keanu's eyes, he began seeing beyond the material object to the person carrying it. "You're not defined by what you own, Alex," Keanu said, seemingly reading his thoughts. "You're defined by how you treat others, how you handle challenges, who you choose to become despite your circumstances." By the time they headed to Alex's apartment, something fundamental had changed. He stood taller, his shoulders no longer hunched with shame. The new backpack represented more than just a celebrity's kindness. It was a reminder that someone had seen his worth beyond his circumstances. Monday morning arrived with the usual knot of anxiety in Alex's stomach, but there was something new mixed in, a cautious optimism. He'd spent Sunday evening transferring his school supplies into the new backpack, carefully organizing each section. His mother had watched with tears in her eyes, still overwhelmed by their unexpected weekend visitor who had refused her profuse thanks with gracious humility. "Remember what we talked about," she said, straightening his collar before he left for school. "This doesn't change who we are." "I know, Mom," Alex replied, hugging her tightly. Walking to school, Alex rehearsed his library contest story, hoping it would hold up under scrutiny. Darius was waiting at their usual corner, his eyes widening at the sight of the new backpack. "Whoa! Where did that come from?" he asked, circling Alex to examine it from all angles. Alex explained the cover story, careful to include enough details to make it convincing but not so many that it sounded rehearsed. Darius seemed to accept it, though his eyes held questions he didn't voice. At school, the reactions were mixed. Some students barely noticed, while others commented with varying degrees of suspicion. Melissa from his English class complimented it with a genuine smile that made Alex feel inexplicably lighter. Jackson and his friends were predictably less friendly. "Nice backpack, Jenkins," Jackson said during passing period, his tone making the compliments sound like an accusation. "Looks expensive. Where'd you get the money for that?" "Won it," Alex replied simply, continuing to organize his locker without making eye contact. "Sure you did," Jackson sneered. "Your mom's working even more shifts now?" Before, this comment would have landed like a physical blow. Today, Alex remembered Keanu's words about bullies fighting their own battles. He zipped his new backpack closed, slung it over his shoulder, and looked directly at Jackson. "My mom works hard because she cares about our family," Alex said calmly. "That's nothing to be ashamed of." He walked away, leaving Jackson momentarily speechless. He could feel Jackson's glare on his back but kept walking, experiencing a new kind of freedom that had nothing to do with the backpack and everything to do with how he carried himself. The day wasn't perfect. There were whispers, some teachers noticed a change and gave him curious looks, and Jackson's pride was wounded enough that Alex suspected future retaliation. But it was a beginning. In English class, Mr. Peterson returned their essays on the outsiders, pausing at Alex's desk. "Excellent analysis of how material possessions create artificial social barriers, Alex. Very insightful." Alex accepted the A-marked paper with quiet pride, knowing his recent experience had deepened his understanding of the novel's themes. At lunch, something unexpected happened. As Alex sat with Darius at their usual table, Melissa approached with her lunch tray. "Mind if I join you guys?" she asked. Darius looked as surprised as Alex felt, but they both nodded. "I liked what you said to Jackson this morning," Melissa said as she sat down. "Most people just let him get away with being a jerk." "Standing up to him might make things worse," Darius warned. "Or it might help others do the same," Melissa countered. They spent lunch discussing an upcoming science project, deliberately avoiding the topic of backpacks or bullies. It was refreshingly normal, and Alex realized how long it had been since he'd enjoyed school without constant anxiety. After school, Alex noticed a small boy struggling with a torn plastic grocery bag holding his books. Without hesitation, he approached. "Hey, that doesn't look very practical," he said gently. "I have an extra book bag at home I don't use anymore. It's not fancy, but it's better than that. Want it?" The boy's grateful smile reminded Alex of how powerful small kindnesses could be. 3 months later, Alex stood outside the community center, admiring the completed mural. What had begun as a simple conversation with Ms. Ramirez had evolved into a school-wide project, a colorful wall painting depicting their town with the phrase, "What we share matters more than what we wear," integrated into the design. The idea had emerged during a classroom discussion about materialism and acceptance, inspired partly by Alex's willingness to share his experience. With administrative support and community donations of supplies, students from all grades had contributed, working together regardless of the usual social divisions. Even Jackson had participated, revealing a surprising talent for painting that earned him positive attention for once. He and Alex weren't friends, exactly, but a tentative respect had developed between them. Alex was putting away brushes when his phone chimed with a notification. Opening it, he found an email that made him smile. "Hey Alex, how's the future architect doing? The filming wrapped up last week, but I wanted to check in. The production designer was impressed with those building sketches you shared. Said you have a good eye for structure and space. Keep developing that talent. Remember our conversation about how buildings bring people together?" Looks like you're doing that already with your mural project. Proud of you. Take care of yourself, and that backpack. Hey. Alex closed the email, tucking the phone back into his backpack, the same one that had once symbolized his shame but now carried his growing collection of architectural sketches and design books from the library. His mother's financial situation had improved somewhat with a promotion at the hospital. Things weren't perfect, but they were moving forward. The backpack was no longer his most prized possession. That honor belonged to his growing confidence and the understanding that value came from within. As he walked home, Alex noticed a new student struggling with an armload of books. Without hesitation, he stopped to help, introducing himself with the easy smile of someone who knew exactly who he was, regardless of what he carried.